What's going on YouTube? This is IPSEC, and this is going to be a honeypot that's been worth its weight in gold to me because I can't even describe how many teams I've caught running Responder because of this simple task. So with that being said, let's just jump in. Before we get into any of those detections and notifications, we should understand the attack and potential implications of if this attack is successful and we don't detect it. So this is going to be focused on a tool called Responder and its capability to poison LLMNR or NetBIOS request. And this happens when your computer attempts to resolve a DNS name and resorts to NetBIOS. Now you should disable this in your environment, and maybe you'll use this video as justification to do that, but by default it's on. So if I try to go to a DNS name that doesn't exist, let's say DC03, because I only have 1 and 2, I fat fingered this and did DC03. Now what happened is my computer made a DNS request. The DNS server said, I don't know who DC03 is. So then my computer asks the network, and that's NetBIOS or LLMNR, to say, hey, does anyone know who DC03 is? The network goes, nope. And now my computer says, hey, we can't connect to DC03. Now, if someone did respond with it, then my computer would attempt to connect. And if they said, hey, this requires authorization, Windows is going to do some single sign-on magic and send the hash of my active user over to that computer, and they can potentially crack in and get my password, right? So let's show this in action. Now, I clicked on this, which is a SSH connection to a computer that's on this network. Whenever you see the black background, this is me on a Linux computer. I'm going to do Python 3, Responder, and we got to specify the interface name I want to listen on, which is ENS160. And now I'm listening for events. So let us do the same thing. I'm going to type // DC03 / and I didn't even hit enter. And we can see my computer already was like, hey, I want to log in. He's like, okay, it requires credentials. It's like, here's administrator. And hint, the password is password1 or password or something super weak to get on. So let's just save this credential, and we're going to put in a credential as well. So let's do DC03C, and it wants me to log in. I'm going to say IPSEC, and we're going to put a password. And the password right here, Zelda. We attempt to connect, and the computer will just print out the hash again, right? So Responder is logging all of that information. And what we can do is take these hashes and then use it in a tool either like John the Ripper or Hashcat. So we can show that. So I'm going to go over to a different box. I call it the Kraken. It's why I have Hashcat running. And we'll do v hashes. I'm going to just call it hyrule.netNTLM v2 because that's the type of hash this is. We can put both of them in. And then if I do /hashcat, and then just specify the hash file and opt wordlist rockU, which is just a dictionary file, it's going to take that dictionary and throw it against these hashes and try to crack them. We can see recovered 2 out of 2. If we scroll up, it will tell us what they were, but we could just specify -- show, and it shows us both of them. So here's the hash, IPSEC, and his password is going to be Zelda. And then we have administrator, and that password is just password1. So we have successfully cracked both of these. So this is what a lot of junior pen testers would do on internal pen test assessments. And if they don't have a Linux box, there's a tool called Inveih, INVEIH, which I want to say is PowerShell. There's a .NET version as well. And you can do the same exact thing from a Windows computer, right? So it's a very strong attack against them. And the best way to defend against it is completely disable NetBIOS. But even if you do that, you still want to know if someone's running this tool. That's the whole purpose of a honeypot, right? So what we can do is constantly just request invalid domain names, right? So let's go over to PowerShell. And it's really simple to do this. All we do is a function called resolve DNS name, and then it's got this whole LLMNR only thing, and we put a domain, let's just say please subscribe, right? And if I go back to my Linux box, we run Responder. If I hit enter here, we can see it sent me a poisoned request back, and we have IP addresses. If I exit this and ran the tool now, it's going to just time out and say, hey, there's no one here please subscribe. So this is going to be a great way of detecting it, right? So let's run this again. And what I'm going to do is set this to a variable called X, or maybe we can just say LLMNR, I guess. And I'm going to pipe out standard error, which is just 2 caret like that to null. So if it does error, it's not going to fill up our standard out. And then if I do LLMNR, we have the response, and we can say .ip address, if I can type it, IP address, and we could do -join and put it all on one line. And now we have everything we need to potentially write the alert. And we're going to first send this in Slack. And I'm going to cheat and just use something from a previous video. If you just go to my sending Slack hook video, I'm sure this will be a lot more sense, or make a lot more sense. The username is going to be bot, and I'm going to say responder detected. And we can edit the message. So before message, I'm just going to do IP is equal to, and we can say, let's go back here, and we'll do this. And before that, we'll also want to define the variable. So we pretty much have everything done once we add this. So we can say rogue LLMNR server is at IP. But the issue is going to be is this is always going to fire because we don't have any like if then statement, right? So we'll want to say if LLMNR, and in PowerShell, if a variable is blank, it's going to go to false. If it has data, it's going to go to true. And that's with a lot of scripting languages. So we can now just indent everything to put it into this loop or make it obvious it's in this loop. And then that's it. I think we're done. So if we copy this, put it into our PowerShell, if I hit enter, we have a notification here. If I click on it, we have responder detected. Host name, this is the workstation that detected it. And we're going to say the rogue LLMNR server could be at here, right? So now the next step is to do the same thing, but with responder off to make sure we're not getting messages. So same thing, hit enter, and you notice I did not get a message. And that's because the DNS server is not responding, right? Responder's offline. Send it again, nothing. We're going to start it up, send it, and we got a message right away, right? So now all we have left to do is put this in a scheduled task and run it like every 10 or 15 minutes. And whenever something hits, we're golden, right? So let's open up Task Scheduler. And once in Task Scheduler, we can create a task. And this time we're going to call it Detect Responder. And a user, let's just do system. I always hate running something like this as a administrator. Maybe guest would be a good one, but system I believe is fine because the system account is going to be my machine account, which is a randomly generated password that can't be cracked and doesn't really have that many privileges. If it's in a domain controller, I would not run this just because the implication if it fails, that would be probably like a KOB TGT hash, which is a super sensitive thing. So leave this to like workstations and like low privilege servers to run the task on. I doubt it's really that exploitable on like if you did run a domain controller, but it's just not a risk I would be worth taking. So we can say Let's just say at startup. We can run it. We can repeat the task every, let's do 5 minutes for the duration of indefinitely. Step tasks, if it runs longer than 30 minutes, that should be fine. Click OK. The action, new, and we're going to run PowerShell. So PowerShell is, I think in like Windows PowerShell. Where's PowerShell installed actually? PowerShell.exe. Normally I have it memorized. Yeah, Windows PowerShell v1, whatever. So we're running this. I'm going to do -nop for no profile, -enc for encoded command. And let's encode that command. So let's go to gchq.github.io/cyberchef. And we're going to convert this into base64. Now, Windows base 64 is UTF-16 little endian encoded. So we have to do that first. It's a bit of a pain, but it's Windows. Everything's a pain. So encode text, and then change this to UTF-16 little endian. Then we can do base 64 and just copy this. And then we put it into a task. And then click OK. And I believe this is all we need. So now detect responder. Let's hit enter a few times. And I think I can cheat and just like right click and run. And it looks like it worked. I don't have a notification on Slack though. Let's see, 12:02. I'm guessing it just didn't pop up because that did come up. So if I right click and run this again, we should see another message pop up. And this time we did get the notification there. So this is looking great, right? Now, if you're in an enterprise environment, I generally would not use this method to send the alert, right? I would instead use write to event log. And I do that because in an enterprise environment, I expect there to be centralized monitoring like Splunk or Elk. So if I just write to the event log, it's automatically can get shipped there to the SIEM or whatever you're using to monitor event logs and can get notified that way, right? This whole invoke REST method thing to Slack, it's a thing for small businesses that don't have centralized logging for whatever reason. You should, no matter what size business, but if you don't, this is a hacky thing that gets by, right? So instead of invoke REST method, what we could do is a write event log. And we can give it the log name of application. If I can spell that, we need the event ID. I'm going to do 9001. You can pick anything you want. And then message, we'll put, I think IP is still defined. So we can just put IP. We need source. Let's see, responder pot. We need to create that log source. So I think it's new event log, log name, application, -source, responder pot. And now we can write to this, hopefully. We need a specified source, responder pot. Okay, we wrote. So I'm going to open up Microsoft Management Console. We're going to go to the event log, add it. What? That did not add. Add. Okay. Oh, it did. I'm just blind. There we go. Windows. And then we go to application. And we're waiting for it to load. It's taking a while. Maybe I should clear this log. I don't know how big that thing is. That is taking a while. I guess while it loads, we can copy this and we'll put it in our message, right? And we have the variable, let's see, MSG. I'm just going to remove this and we don't need body. And the host name is going to be in it. So this is literally all we need. Let's look back at our event log. We have it. responder pot, and it's here. I'm going to make it a warning. Dash level. I think it's level. Let's see. Entry type, category, raw, computer, verbose, debug. Warning. Oh, dash warning, I guess. No. Let's see. I'm going to go Google. Write event log. Okay. Entry, message, raw data. Warning. Looks like maybe entry type? I would not have guessed that. Dash entry type. Warning. So that wrote. Let's refresh the log, and now it is a warning. So let's add that into our PowerShell. Where is it? Right here. No, Notepad++. And it was, I have the memory of a goldfish. Entry type. Entry type. Warning. So now if I run this, put it in PowerShell, look at our event log, we have rogue LLMNR server detected, and it gave us the IP addresses. So this is something that would go into our centralized logging, and the alert would be handled that way. So just another way to do it. If we wanted to, we could also test it out in a scheduled task. I'm not positive the scheduled task needs to like run at the highest privilege, so that's what I'm testing right now. So we copy it, go to schedule task. We can edit this one. So edit the action, replace the base 64. Okay. And then we run it. It's running. It stopped. Uh-oh. Why do we get 12, 15, 12? It ran the old task. What? I think CyberChef decided not to show me the new base 64 until I just did whatever I did. So that was odd. Gremlins, I swear. Let's paste the new base 64 that we have. And let's run this. Running. Okay. Refresh. Now we have a third entry. So our task works just fine. We can go here, close our server, then go to schedule task, run it again. It's running, ran, right? And refreshing this, we still only have 3. So with that, our responder detection is up and running. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care, and I will see you all next week or next time. The last thing, like I was thinking as I was closing that out, is the step that we didn't do is like wait a little bit and see if the last runtime does update, because we've already manually ran the task. So we want to make sure the task does run every 5 minutes. So this should definitely do it, but something I would check. So yeah. So I guess I shouldn't have said shouldn't, because it's now 12:24. The last time this ran was 12:16, and it didn't run again. So I'm going to guess maybe I have to reboot the computer for this to take effect, because on the action, or not action, on the trigger, I said at system startup, right? Maybe I should have just said on a schedule and then did something. Let's change it back to on system startup, and I'm just going to reboot my box and then see if it happens every 5 minutes. So it's still at startup, repeat every 5 minutes. We'll reboot and see what happens. So it is restarting. And now I am logging back into the box. We're going to open up Task Scheduler, and it's probably going to say it ran right away because we configured it to run at startup. And then we want to make sure it runs in 5 minutes, right? So if we look at this, task scheduler, detect honeypot, ran at 12:26, it's 12:27, so that is looking good. I'm going to open up Putty, and we're going to run responder to make sure it all works as expected. So let's log in with IPSEC, password of password, cd responder, sudo python3 respond.py I ENS 160. Put the password back in. Okay. And I did a lowercase I. It's a capital I. That gets me every time. So we're just going to wait for, I guess, 3 more minutes and see if we get a hit. Or maybe it's, let's see, what is the time? 26:18. So we'll wait another 4 minutes. And it's now 12:31, almost 5 minutes. We're just waiting on the seconds, and there we go. So our scheduled task is working. We just had to reboot the box. So now, hope you guys enjoyed that. Take care, and I will see you all next time.